All right. Welcome back. So another day, some more progress, some more roadblocks. So last time, the little pathetic thing of wax that they provided was just crumbling apart on me. So I played with a few things. I actually took a ink pen, you know, cheap plastic giveaway ink pen, filled it up with, or shoved the wax down in there, heated up with a heat gun, and then I have some beeswax that I use for making finish for cutting boards and pastry boards and stuff. Anything that needs to be food safe, I use the paste wax or the beeswax on it with a mineral oil. Gives you some nice deep penetration and provides some protection for those surfaces. So I took that, shoved it down in, took a heat gun to the tube. It ended up really warped, kind of like this one looks. Let's see if that comes across on camera. Yeah, you can see it's all melted on top and everything. And I mean, it turned out okay-ish. There's some cracks in the side. There's a hole in the end. Don't know if that'll come across on the camera where it tried to hold on to the side. Let's see if the other camera will show anything. Not even close. Oh well. I've upped the brightness on the new camera. I've also taken the headset off and switched back to my original mic that I was using with an audio input source. The thing is the thing's crazy sensitive. But it should be higher gain and all that. So I did that, and you know, I noticed some cracks, and I noticed it was thin and all that. And I'm like, well, what else could I do to get something a little bit bigger? So I took a scrap of cedar and drilled I think this is like a 11/16 hole in it. Nah, it's not that big. 7/16. And put some wax down in there. This wax that I use, it's just basically like a pellet. If it'll come across, yeah. It's just a little flat wax pellet. Shoved it down in there, let it start to set up, and then I cut it real close to the side, and then took a chisel and split it on the end grain. It would have worked if I had figured out a way to line the hole. Of course, here we are now. I tried remelting it. But basically using this as like a temporary cast. Problem with that is it just split down the middle. Not ideal. Wasted some wax. Well, theoretically wasted some wax. I think I could probably scrape this out and reuse it. I mean, it's beeswax. I can use it for whatever. It's just I won't use that for food. So I like this idea, but that piece is a little small. And I want to get some more mileage out of it. I want to see if I can avoid that little divot in the middle. So what I'm going to do, shove some pellets down in the top of this, grab a heat gun. You don't need high heat, just low heat. And this will, I'm going to switch cameras. Let's see if the cord will reach. This will melt the wax, and it just sucks itself right down in there. And the cool thing is once you melt this wax, it starts going just straight down to the bottom, and it will melt the remainder of the wax that's in there too. So you just heat it up a little. I find the important thing is that you let it actually set up all the way. You can keep the tube relatively warm. The pellets will melt as you place them in and slide down. I'm just going to keep some heat on this. And just load pellets in one at a time. Don't necessarily need to fill up the whole tube. But if I can get the majority of the tube and get it melted where the wax is an even consistency, when I cut it open, I'll have a big long section. If we get a couple cracks here or there, it's not the end of the world. And I mean, this ruins the pen tube, in case you can't tell. But I think we'll live. And don't let your fingers sit on the plastic. And don't use high heat, because you'll end up just evacuating all the fumes from the plastic, and that'll be just nastiness, carcinogen, baloney. I think that'll be enough. I just want to get it nice and melted. And you can actually look down into the tube and you can see little bubbles forming where the air in between the pellets is going. I usually go until it almost starts to boil. It gets a little bubbly. Using one eye just to focus on this. My hope is that if I get another one of those little divots where it tries to stick to the walls of the tube, it'll at least be, the tube will be long enough where I don't have to, you know, do too much. I'm just going to set that aside. You can see this tube is like horrifically deformed now. Don't really care. It's going to be garbage at the end of this. So I'm just going to set that back there to cool off. Close this up and go. So I've got my little wax stick. I even have this thing. I mean, this could be useful. Pull it off and my fingers won't get nearly as waxy. Let's see what I can do to wax things. So we need board 8. Board 8. Excuse me. And we need... it looks like there's a bunch of middle pieces in here. Part number 63. We've got this whole assembly here. And then we've got this whole big thing up top. So let's get to cutting. I reload my page because it's not showing any viewer count or anything. So let's see here. All right. So as usual, cut out my carrier board. Now that I've learned how to use this new knife, it's a lot easier to cut these things. Whereas with the old one, I'd actually, oh, I don't know, cut. This one, I just stab. Which works fine. Yeah, it's been a rough week at work, man, but I was listening to the news, you know, global warming, this, that, the other. The end is nigh. But I got to thinking about global warming. And I used to play a game called Alpha Centauri. Sid Meier game, really good. Loved it. It was the original Alpha Centauri, not the re-release just a few years back. They had an option in there to launch a solar shade or a solar mirror. You know, and it would affect the temperature of the planet, sea level would go up or down accordingly. Kind of a neat concept. And obviously, I mean, we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and everything, you know, attack the source. But I was thinking about, it'd be nice if we could just manufacture some clouds or solar shade just for those ridiculously hot and humid summer days, because we've had a few of those here lately, and es no bueno. So, thinking about that, and then I remembered hearing a story years ago about somewhere, I want to say it was Europe, but I could be wrong. It could also have been a completely made up story for all I know. I haven't had a chance to look it up. About a group launching basically a solar mirror so that they could turn night into day in like one particular spot. And they actually launched a satellite to try it out, and it worked for something like 20 minutes. And the story always kind of stuck with me because I was like, you'd think they would have like tested or planned out the materials so that it would have lasted longer. But I mean, until you do an actual experiment, I guess you never know. But it was something like they launched it, they unfurled the sail, and it worked for like 20 minutes before it burned up from the sun's radiation because it was in outer space and it was too thin of a material or not the right material to protect it from all the radiation, and it just basically burned up because they underestimated how hot even a mirror would get in outer space. I really ought to look that up, see if there's any truth to it. But I mean, if there is some truth to it, what about a solar shade? It wouldn't fix global or climate change. But I don't know about you. Right about now, I'd pay decent money to have a shade over the town I live in and get some relief. You know what? I'm gonna look that up. See if I'm off my rocker. Solar mirror. So, I mean, obviously a solar mirror is a thing. Okay. A preliminary series of experiments called Znamya, I'm guessing it translates to banner, was performed by Russia using solar sail prototypes that had been repurposed as mirrors. Banner 1 was a ground test. Banner 2 was launched aboard the Progress M15 resupply mission to the Mir space station on October 27, 1992. After undocked from Mir, Progress deployed the reflector. The mission was successful in that the mirror deployed, although it did not illuminate the Earth. The next flight, Banner 2.5, failed, and Banner 3 never flew. So I'm guessing it was probably hearsay, or it didn't reflect it back to Earth, or something like that. Kind of a neat concept to turn night into day, but I don't know. I'm a bigger fan of the shade. It's been rainy here, and it's been very, very, very nice, even if it is very humid. I'm kind of wondering if these need sanded or not. It doesn't say they do. So I guess I can believe them. I want to believe them. I look at these pieces just fall out. A nice satisfying chunk. Uh-oh. I'll respond to that later. Yeah. That one didn't ka-chunk. There, it ka-chunked. Nice thing about using this mic setup, although it's a lot more wires and a lot more prone to background noise, doesn't turn off on me. I'm all for that. I was quite embarrassed when that happened yesterday. So this piece is basically like a registrator. And these little hooks, see if the other camera will give a better view. These little hooks go onto these little pegs here, and we'll move up and down. But it says you need to wax everything. Problem is, they say that, and even the wax they provided was way too big to fit in these tiny little spaces. Maybe they figure by this point you've used almost all the wax and it's just a tiny little nub that you've got to grind in there. You're not going to be crafty like me and remelt the wax and make your own sticks. It's actually rather shocking how well this beeswax melted along with what they provided. I mean, the beeswax is very yellow, but after I heat it up and melt it in place, it basically looks the same. Until you'd break the tip of the wax off and it just kind of clogs the hole that you're trying to work with. So you find something to shove it out. It'll be okay. So this says I need to wax what? So it looks like the tip of the hooks. You say so, instructions. It seems like just waxing the tip would be a waste. You gotta do the whole thing, but you never know. I mean, at this point, why not just paste wax the whole thing? Which I'm going to do. It's not like I have a shortage of beeswax. I mean, yeah, that bag's almost empty. But I've got another full one inside. So, make sure I have the number and the hook goes up. So we go 1, and then these pieces go in place just to hold it, keep it from coming off. Kind of a neat shape. And kind of annoying as well, because they're not easy to put in. Let's see here, what can I use? Get it started with the wooden mallet. And there we go. And then we just work our way across. Can't tell if that's rain or bugs or what. I think it's bugs. First night in a long time where it's been cool enough that I haven't had to think about running the AC out here. Not easy to get in place. Make sure the hook goes up. Head goes in top hole. Kind of start it by hand. Hold it straight to get it started. Yeah. I'm not a fan of this section. This piece is really complex and really thin. Do we have any viewers? None. So Jar's asking, what do you recommend for UPS for your desktop? I use Minuteman, Trip Light, or APC. Typically. You know, I've used some Cyber Power. They're not bad. Anymore, most of them are dime a dozen. You know, very commoditized. The thing you have to keep in mind is there's a difference between online UPSs and forget what they call it. You know, you have your line interactive, your online, your smart UPS, which is baloney. It's just like every other UPS. It just might have an option for a management card or something. And then you have your cheap UPSs, which switch to battery only when the power goes out. Whereas your online's always using the battery. So your power goes out, and in a online UPS where it's always using that battery, the equipment that's plugged into it has no clue whether it's on AC power or battery power from looking at the power that's provided to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here's the thing, there's 7 of these. Whereas you get these cheapies, which I'm guilty of buying too. If you have some sensitive equipment or something on there, you'll actually see like voltage spikes and voltage drops when it transitions between battery power and, you know, line power. For some things, they won't care. A lot of your modern power supplies on your computers and stuff, they don't care. But if you have like a synthesizer or some high-end audio equipment or some high-end video equipment, why risk it? Ah, I'm like, what? I forgot to put these pieces in. So these go with the hooks down. And this is kind of like some of the little pieces that we had before. There we go. Only they have a hook in it. And these have a hook in them. So the idea is this piece will go through its little respective hole, facing the opposite direction. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. We've got a hook facing up and a hook facing down. And you'll see why that matters in a minute when we add some rubber bands to this to kind of put some tension on these guys. These pieces don't really need hammered. As long as you support it, you'll be fine. Just make sure you support the wood when you push something through it, especially on these pieces with like thin cuts and stuff. Because I tell you what, it would suck to have to wait to finish putting this together. Because you broke a piece and you need to glue it or whatever. Or even contact them and get a new piece. Then we grab an rubber band, wrap it around one end, and then this says you weave it back and forth and then put it around the other. I'm gonna try being a rebel. Nah, it'll be easier to follow the actual instructions. Messing with that, it's like, yeah, they know what they're talking about. So we grab this, overhook, underhook, overhook, underhook. I'll mess with that in a minute. Overhook, underhook. Overhook, underhook. Overhook, underhook. Overhook. And then I stretched it a little too much going through. I got a couple that aren't wanting to go to where they need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little hook and just kind of loosen it and work my way backwards. I know in the middle some of these got really tight. This will also give me an opportunity to do that. We'll see if that's good enough. It looks like the rubber bands kind of want to come out, but we'll see how that goes. So we've done that. The piece looks like this. And these snap up because you've got a rubber band going between those hooks to apply tension. And looks like we're gonna grab a neck piece. So we're looking at part 5. And we're gonna grab another rubber band here in a second. So 80. So we have 79 and 80. This one over here is 79. This one over here is 80. I'm sure the difference is that they're mirror images. There may be a difference in like hole alignment too. All I know is it calls it out, so that's what we're using. Yes. That cut sucked. This knife may actually be little too sharp. It cuts whatever. Super easy. Verify that's part 80. Grab another rubber band. And this says that the rubber band, we squeeze the end and it goes through this hole here. Little D-shaped hole. Boingy, 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 boingy. All right. And then we'll take it from the D-shaped hole on this end to the D-shaped hole on this end, apparently. Who knows what it's there for? I'm sure it will become apparent later on. I don't think they would just have you do this for no reason. And it goes in like so. And then also on this panel, that being panel 5, we have part number 74. It is sided, you know, this side looks like it's twisted right here, and this side does not look like it's twisted. At least with the little flowery laser cutting. And make sure that the flowery side goes up and it goes through this hole down here. And then for this, guess they gave us extras of all these. Whatever. This will be using another one of these. Little wedge clip-in retainers. And that'll just go through on the other side from the top. And that'll hold it perpendicular. So from that, we flip it back around, and this part mates up with it. So what do we have? The hooks go on top, the rubber band goes on the bottom. And okay, so these are probably the return mechanisms for the, I guess we'd call them keys. Squeeze them in nice and tight. This step requires 2 of these plain wedges, which are these lower ones. And according to this, 3 of the fancy curly Q wedges. In the camera, they kind of look like they have little smiles on them. But in real life, they look almost like curly ram horns. So we'll start by cutting out the 2 regular wedges. Those things are fun to cut out. The ram horns, on the other hand, they're a little less fun to cut out because the tabs are on curves. So I have 2 viewers. Thank you for watching. Need to get these up on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. It's listed down below. So far I only have these videos, but we'll get more in the future. Alright, so one of the little smiley guys. Oh wait, I've got that. It sits like so. Mango makes it look like it just holds up on its own. I don't see how that would work. But this is the center of the thing. And the cross members on it, let me see if I can turn it around, you know, line up with holes on this, supposedly. Might have to coax them a little, but they line up, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of engagement here. God, this is going to be solid. So we'll turn it like this. Ram horn goes in this guy, straight down. Non-ram horn has one that goes up in this end and down in this end. Now that I've shown you, I can actually look at what I'm doing. Yeah, that's going to be pretty darn solid. Kind of curious how that's going to engage. But we'll get there. And then we've got 2 more ram horns that go in with the ram horn, the curly Q part on the front, or towards the end here, and they go into these mid supports. Kind of wiggle about in the hole a little, but they're not bad. So we have the start of a neck. This thing's gonna start looking pretty complete here soon. So now we need the other section of the neck. Yeah, and this one doesn't have the clips for the rubber band. So there is a difference. It also has some very fun looking notches cut in it. Curious to see how they'll fit into the overall picture. Go down here. I think that'll separate it. Yeah. Have a little carrier to separate off, but this guy, as you can see, he's got some notches right here. This guy's empty, I can get rid of him. Let's see here. Need to cut these little gears off. Okay, we have that. We've got 3 more of the ram heads and 2 more of the normal wedges. So this looks like a repeat of the last step. Although this will also have some gears that we have to drop in place. Two regular wedges. 2 golden mangoes. So there's that. We've got some parts to wax. So it says on the instructions to wax that hole. We've got a whole series of holes here. Let's see here. This hole here. This hole has the axle from the other side in it. This hole here. And this hole has an axle from the other side. But we've got the... not the upturned vulture head or chicken head or whatever I called it. And then another hole here that might do something. So, we do have some wax. Definitely in better shape than it was yesterday. Not perfect, but It is what it is. However, even this thinner wax than what they had is a lot thicker than this tiny hole. So I'll just take a little scrap, shove it in there, and then kind of pick it out. I can always remelt it later. And to get it off this tool, I'll just heat it up with a lighter or a heat gun or something. I'll wipe it off with a paper towel. What I found with some of this wax, it's kind of sticky at first. Once you start working it, it gets a lot smoother. So, once again, big gear up against the side, and then this two-piece gear. The little gear goes up against big gear in matching hole, supposedly. And we'll just kind of let that do its thing. I'm sure when I start adjusting it and working it, that wax will heat up, go into the pores of the wood, and really be buttery smooth. Now that we've got those in place, this side can go on. Just like the other side. Doesn't show you waxing the axle slots on this. So it's kind of like you have one basically bushing on one side that's waxed and one side that's not. What's the dealio? Why all the love for one side but not the other? Give me a little, especially since this is a fascia piece. I certainly do not want to hit directly on the surface of the wood. And we're through, and we have the basics of a neck. Obviously, I have wedges that have to go in place. So we'll do those now. So the unhorned wedges go in here. Basically, they go here, here, and here along the outer edge. I'm guessing so that they don't get caught on anything. I mean, they would look cool out here. Well, it told me I only needed two. Nope, I miscounted. I needed 4 of them, not 2 of them. That only leaves 1 to spare, I believe. Another wedge there. And we've got a horned one that goes here. Oh, I see. Okay. Non-horned one that goes in the back. This is probably not a horned one, simply to help it line up with everything. And then we've got 2 horned ones that go here and here. Matches up with the other side. We're getting close to the end of this, and I'm speeding up quite a bit. I'm getting used to the tolerances and how this thing works. And then I'm also getting used to just dealing with this, or with the streaming and everything. Alright, so we've got that. On the next page, we've got the 2 90 pieces here. They're big, long windows. We've got some of these pieces down here. And then, naturally, we have some of these little guys that are used for retention every frickin' where. So, I have my 290s. Cut my tabs out. Tabs out for Harambe? What? Yes, it's awful. But dad jokes are a specialty, and not everyone can use them. It's relevant because Harambe was a meme from 17 billion years ago. So I'm gonna cut out this little carrier board, and you can't do anything to stop me. And that should be it on this piece. So what do we need? Oh, and we've got some sanding to do. We've got another, looks like bushing assembly here. So if we look at this, got a little circle, which is a bushing, a little arm, and then this little triangular piece in the center. And I think the triangular might be used as a cam or something, but I'm not 100% sure yet. All right. Shave that. Good thing about this being scary sharp is it makes it really easy to trim these pieces before you sand them. All right, so what's first? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these little guys. Let's just pop these out and count them while I'm going. 2, 3, 4. 5. Okay, so these 90s are asymmetrical. They've got, you know, a cross on one end and looks almost like a top of a fleur-de-lis on the other, but it looks like it's just a leaf. The leaf goes towards the curly end and it lines up quite nicely with this hole and this hole. There we go. These two holes. And you'll see that this doesn't actually have a hole in it. They're actually notched at both ends. See if I can, yeah. And just make sure that the flowery side is out. Doesn't really matter which side you do first, so long as you do both of them, because the parts are identical. These tiny little retention pegs go like this, not like this. They would not be nearly as effective rotated 90 degrees, and I doubt they would even fit. Yeah, the hole's pretty square, but not quite. And check this. Hello, Twicker. Captain Broken Beak. Go to the other side. Same story, different side. Make sure flowery bit is, or leafy bit is visible from the outside. And go like so. Kind of want to support this piece a little. It's only really held up on one side. You know, this section down here is supported by this, but the top wide open. And that peg's in the middle, so just kind of support it with your hand. Don't wail on the hammer. So we've got all that. And we'll hold it like this. Okay, go away. On this side, we've got a little triangular hole. See if I can do something to kind of highlight that with a little leaf or something sticking out. But on the other side, we've got a circle, a little peg. So this says, this little retention peg goes from the inside out through that little square hole. No clue why. It goes flat with the neck. Seems like it would have made sense to put this on before you lost the ability to swing a hammer. But it's tight, but it works. And you can actually see sticks out in there. Next, sand and wax. Yeehaw. Take my scrap. This is probably the tiniest bushing on the whole thing. So tiny it almost makes sense to grab some pliers and hold it with that. But a manicure isn't bad with sandpaper. And then we'll take this. Oh no. Says we need to rub the face with wax and the perimeter with wax. Well, I'm going to start with the perimeter. Give it a nice, healthy coating. And I mean, there's so little face on this, it almost doesn't make any sense to put wax on it. I mean, how much friction is there on the tip of a pin? Okay. So we orient the little foot leg thing with the divider there, the little horn hook thing here. Better yet, might actually make sense for me to play with this a little. Forgive me for messing with it on cam or on stream, but it just makes sense. for this guy to zoom in, and then I can use one camera for a wide shot. And one for a narrow. And this will be a little bit easier for you to see these tiny, tiny parts. So right here, we've got my little leg piece. This end here, use my ice pick. It'll be easier. Hello, thank you for watching. Who do we have in here? Oh, nice to see you guys. Feel free to chat, hang out. So we've got the hooky bit down here, hooky bit right here, foot bit here with some actual toes on it. Let's see here, get the angle right. Got our triangle, which it says I need to orient with the hole like so, so the toes can go through it, and the curve going down. Does that go there, or does it go on farther? How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? 3. Okay, there we go. That goes on all the way. So, looks like that. And so. Then we take this piece that we've waxed, the little bushing, and shove it right up against it. And that slides just right on because of all the wax. Move it back a little so it stays in focus. Sorry about that. And that is the end of this page. I'm going to switch back to the other camera. So bright, it's blinding. And on this page, more assembly of everything. So it shows us putting the foot in place. There's a piece that'll go on the other side. We have another foot looking thing here. And where it goes. And then looks like we start inserting the keys. I'm curious how these keys are going to work in here. So we'll pick the thing up. Let's see how this looks on the other camera. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. We'll take our little foot dealy bob with its toes. Go from the inside. Stick the toes out. So our toes are right here. My fingers back there so you can see the top of the back and the top of the boot. And then on this, now if I can get my left from right correct, got a little teardrop and a little lever. And we need those for this step. And then I need another one of these little guys. Get them in the frame. So I'll go ahead, cut everything out. and find some other random topic to ramble about. Any suggestions? Don't normally do a lot of kits like this. They're fun because it's all already cut for you, more or less. You just have to cut the little tabs and assemble it. You know, it's kind of like building IKEA furniture, which is a blast. And then you're done and you want to build more, but you run out of room, you run out of money, you drop a piece on the floor, forget your screws, whatever. So we've got a long bill here. Kind of looks like a long-billed bird or hummingbird or something like that. Got another one of these little wedge pieces. It says, I hold hummingbird with beak going that way, wedge piece going up and down, go through hole. Now kiss. And then we will take that. Oh, okay, I see. And on this side, where we put the boot here, yeah, let's get it more in center. The boot right here. There's this little square hole here. And said bird head goes through the hole with the beak towards the boot. Of course, I missed a step, but we'll live. And the little beak acts as a spring. It's a wood spring. Okay, falling apart on me. So I'm going to go back and do the part I missed. And that is the magical teardrop. Basically, the toe of the boot sticks out on this side, right here. And the little teardrop goes with the pointy bit going up. You fight it, you wiggle it, you get it, whatever. Doesn't say to wax it or anything. I don't think you would want to wax it because you'll be using this bird beak to kind of hold it in place. It's not exactly sitting flat. Question is how do I get that to sit flat? Finger strength, I guess. And teardrop works as a little pointer. Tell you whether it's engaged or not. I believe this turns on and off the drone function of the instrument. So now that we have that in place, let's see if we can get this bird beak to line up. We can, it just takes a little coaxing. It fits. You can actually see, you know, there's the eye of the bird beak. And the wooden tension spring, and it interfaces to this triangular piece that we put on the boot, and kind of acts as a positive stop to keep you from going too far. See, I can't push that any farther either way. And it kind of holds it in place. Nice touch. And then I drop the neck. So after that, we grab one of the keys. Does it say which one? This would be number 1, which is this guy. And we insert key number 1, which still, you know, it's 2 pieces and it still flexes both ways. Insert key number 1 through this slot towards the end of the neck end of the head, or the head end of the neck. I'm sorry. We flip up the hook. And do what? It shows something, but I'm not sure what it's showing. And you can actually look here. You know, this guy has the number 1 on him here, right in between my fingers. This guy, these are numbers right up along here. So the number 1 goes in the number 1. But it shows you flipping up the hook, but it doesn't show where the hook is actually going. I think the hook goes into this long slot, and then you have the 2 middle slots for something else, which we might find out later. I think it goes in for a retention thing. So you need about 15 fingers to do this. I'll break out the ice pick and kind of just pry that little hook finger up. It works nicely, but if I let go, it'll just spring out the side. So that's nice and all, but why do you have me putting that together before I have the retention pieces, which is on the next step? So, for the next step, we've got a lot of stuff in the way. But we've got, gosh, these guys really do kind of look like elephants. Right here. And then we've got this big piece here, and some of these little horseshoe dealy bobs down here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut them out, because why not? Start with the carrier boards. Oh, it's 11:23. I'll get these keys working. Take a look at the next page. If we're putting the neck onto the body, I'm all about it. If not, well, we'll just carry on to the next stream after I split open the pen tube from the beginning of the stream that has all the beeswax in it, and see how that one turned out. knocking everything over. Now, I know this piece that I'm cutting out now goes on top of the neck. And of course, another one of these. Put that guy over there where he belongs instead of with the scrap. So, and actually I don't need another one of those. I was looking at the wrong page. So I need all 6 of these guys cut out. Honestly, this carrier board's so tiny. Probably don't even need to cut them. I could just flex the carrier board. And then, do I need... I only need 2 of these little horseshoe looking dealies. Part number 92. One has a plus over it. Not sure why. Maybe the pluses mean that they're spares. I'd actually have to look that up and read the words on the instructions to know that, though. Sounds like an awful lot of work. I mean, everything else on the instructions is pictogram. So why would I do anything else? All right. So we'll come back to the neck here, back to the other camera. And these little elephant looking pieces go with the curly bit inward. And they go through these 2 holes. Before I can do that, I have to spring that hook up into where it belongs. Hold it there. So let's see if I can get this. So on here we have 3 holes. These hooks that are on the rubber bands go into the long hole here. And then this elephant dude goes in here. Notice my index finger here is on the little curly bit. It goes in like that. Now they say to wax this probably would make it easier, but I don't want to do things the easy way because that works fine. And I can push the keys. And then we get to do all the other keys. So there's key 1. Here's key 2. Same story. I'll take my little ice pick here, flip it up to get it in the hole, push it out, get my elephant in place, get it at least started so I can let go. And there's 2 keys. I'm sure if I played with it a bit, I could do more. 3, guess what? Same deal. Wash, rinse, repeat until it's all done. So I'm going to stop describing and start moving, because it's much faster that way. 4, so 4. If you don't have one of these ice picks and you want to make stuff, they're pretty great. I mean, they're just a general no baloney tool. If you can get one of the handmade ones like this one, they're expensive, but I like it. I need to get this microphone off of the table so when I set stuff down you don't get these big thumps. Number 5. And lastly, number 6. Problem with the zoomed in camera so you can see more detail is it's harder for me to keep everything in frame. I guess if I had planned it ahead of time, I could score a mark, you know, say figure out where this corner is. No, other way. Just kind of put a mark there, which I can't even see because this cardboard's too hard. But I could put like pieces of tape and say, okay, it has to stay in this. But we've got our keys. Next, we will be putting the ornate top piece on. It shows it holding it like this, and then the two little horseshoes. Of course, I'm calling them horseshoes, but horseshoes don't really have this little one arm. I guess it could be a one-armed cyclops. Put it with the arm going down, and it goes into over this right here. I mean, they're a little loose on there, but in my experience with this kit so far, even the loose pieces, once you get them in place, they tighten up fast. Okay. Or did I just do this completely wrong? Oh, I did just do this completely wrong. See if I can get that piece off. You know what? Ice pick to the rescue if I can spread these arms. There we go. So as you put this on, you know, we've got these hooks here, and they're opposing. And so one goes on top piece and the other goes on the hook. No wax needed because it's not a regularly moving part. But then we can go and put this piece on here, supposedly. I'm betting that's on the next page. Yeah. And then this will just snap on. Keep moving it closer to me, thinking that's putting it in the shot. And this is just a friction fit onto the top. Now, I can, you know, see how it would fit in my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See if we can get this in the frame so you can see some of these mechanisms in action with that rubber band. But the next step is most certainly not putting this neck onto the body. So I'm gonna stop assembly right there. Put my ice pick in, put the cap on my X-Acto knife or hobby knife, whatever you want to call it. This thing's pretty nifty. Whew. You can actually see how this will fit on. But we can't do that yet because the instructions haven't said we can. Let me show you what this guy's looking like for the next piece. So here you can see we put the neck on, but then we've got this long skinny piece for the next step, and even the step after that, more of the long skinny pieces and stuff like that. How many pages till we get to put this on? Okay, looks like a lot of that's building the crank. So we've got, that's where we're putting the neck on. And once the neck goes on, we put the crank on, we build the stand, string it. We actually have words in the instructions to read. And after that we'll be done. But at the start of the stream, boy, well, this still has, this gets a divot in the middle. At the start of the stream, put some wax down in this little guy. Pen just stuck on the end of a dowel, and then heated it up with a heat gun. It melted the ever-living snot out of this little pen tube, but I mean, I didn't anticipate reusing the pen tube anyway, because I'm just going to slice this down the side. I think I'm actually going to chop the end of this off here. Let me take this to a coping saw real quick. Just take the end of the tube off, make it a little bit less to cut. I don't know if you can see down in this. Almost, but not quite. But basically, we're going to split this tube down the side and see if we get some decently formed beeswax for waxing the rest of this little instrument. I could take it off the dowel. You can see when I pulled it off the dowel, there's some wax on the end of this. So I'm not sure how good this is going to turn out. I had the idea of like taking the end of a rubber glove finger and working with, you know, melting the wax beforehand and then pouring it in a rubber glove finger. But I don't really feel like breaking out the hot plate and the double boiler and all that for a thimble full of wax. Let's see if we can split this without, yeah, this one, it's not working too well. It's splitting right down the middle as I separate it. I'm trying hard not to split my hand open doing this. Not that I've done that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. The only thing more dangerous than a sharp knife is a dull knife. And for many years, I didn't know how to properly sharpen a knife. Despite the Boy Scouts trying to teach you, they teach you wrong. Like, oh yeah, just get a whetstone, spit on it, and go. No. Not in the least. They don't even teach you proper technique. They're like, oh, just grind it, match the angle. No, you don't. Matching the angle is correct, but if you just say it and don't show how to do it, are you actually teaching anyone anything? Yeah, this is still sticking to the tube and all that, so I think I might have heated the plastic up too much. Yeah, you can see. I split it, and it came out on both sides. Failure. No big deal. You know, I used probably nickel's worth of wax. I mean, I could still ball it up and all that. Yeah, it's like gummy and sticking to this. It's a lot nicer than the wax that came with the kit, at least. Maybe that's what I should do, is instead of like trying to make a proper wax pellet, go after just making a wax ball. Use chisels, see if I can scrape some wax off of this. Answer to that, not really. Better just to use your fingers, clump it up. But even this is better than what we were dealing with yesterday with their provided wax. Now, can't win them all. Put my coping saw back where it belongs. Check out my notifications. Yeehaw. Hey, I just picked up a viewer. Thanks for watching right at the end of the stream. But I'm wrapping up for the day. We've got a mostly assembled neck. Oh, I know what those skinny pieces are. Those are the tuners. A mostly assembled body. And the hurdy-gurdy is not far off. See if the other camera will give us give you a better view of everything. So I can actually take this. I'm not going to fully assemble it, but it would go about like that. And white balance on that camera is rough. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. And I'll be streaming again most likely this weekend. Take it easy.